Welcome to 60 Skills. The topic of today's discussion is Esoterica and making a living. The simple fact of the matter is, teaching meditation, the yogic arts, magic, etc., is generally speaking not a very good way to make a living. Most people are drawn to it as a calling and not based off of pure financial discussions. Now, keep in mind, what we're getting into here is known as thaumaturgy, or literally miracle working. Most successful practitioners I've met, you'll never hear from. They're very private people, and there's no incentive for them to go public about their activities. During the course of their lifespan, they may only train one or two or a handful of people. A more common theme is you have somebody who retires from a conventional profession and then begins to teach full-time, as now they have the financial resources available to them to do so. That said, there are ways to make a living utilizing the yogic, meditative, or esoteric phenomenon that can be applied to conventional professions or lines of employment. And we're going to discuss some of those now. I'm not going to get into the discussion of morality involving this, other than to give one stern warning. If you use these things to abuse other people or to take advantage of people, you will end up paying for that at the end of the day. So that is something to keep in mind and to ponder. All right, what are some examples of applied esoterica? Well, one of the more common examples I've seen is the use of the magnetic line of force amongst salesmen. This is, in essence, a way of attracting people to you. So if you're on the sales floor, it just means the clients that walk in the door tend to be more inclined to come work with you as a salesman and tend to be more receptive to what you have to say. Now, keep in mind, people are coming into this place of business because they are, on at least some level, interested in what is being sold. This is not the same thing as walking down the street and magnetizing people at will to take advantage of them. One of the best ways to do this is to involve this in a B2B or business-to-business environment, because that other business is looking for a service provider. And the truth of the matter is, most services on price point and quality of support aren't terribly different if those businesses have been around for a while. You just end up being the person that provides them that business. Okay, what's another example of this? Well, politicians. Most successful politicians are strong magnetopaths. Now, this is not to say that they've ever consciously trained esoterica. Like most people out there leveraging these phenomena, they just figured out how to do something, and they found that by presenting themselves a certain way or taking on a certain body posture, that it tended to make people more receptive to what they had to say. And they then proceeded to hammer down on this one technique they had for a very long period of time, so they end up being exceptionally good at that one thing. You see this in Tai Chi a lot as well with the whole rebounding or Fa Jin business, where a guy figures out how to do that one thing and he just hammers down on it and he can send people flying across the room using two fingers. So keep in mind, meditative, esoteric, or yogic phenomenon all represent phenomenon in the natural world. There's nothing really supernatural about it. It's just a poorly understood phenomena with an arcane or unusual way of engaging in it. So that's another one. Another thing I've seen is in the financial world, where you put together a team of people, usually who've practiced some version of remote viewing, and they get into picking stocks or picking the lottery or picking other things of this nature. Now, this has to be done in a group because as an individual, it's very hard to separate your personal desires from the subject matter, and this tends to throw things off. So if you find a given data point and that gets verified by a group of 2, 3, 4, or 6 other people, you're pretty sure what's going to happen is going to happen. People who are very successful in financial circles tend to have an ability to see things prophetically in the future to one degree or another. Now, keep in mind, this is a single data point, all right? You have to develop all the other skills associated with investing in order to pull this off. But it does give you an additional data point that most people in that world don't have. And over time, this can work to your advantage. Those are the more common examples I've seen of making a living. Now, less financially viable models include things like energetic healing, accentuating the effects of things like acupuncture or body work, getting into the alchemical business, charging up your different tinctures and spagyrics and oils. But to be honest with you, because those things don't attract a large population of people in conventional society, they're much harder to apply than, say, performance art, being a musician, being someone in finance, being a salesman, so on and so on and so on. Now again, it's not impossible to make a living at Esoterica. However, it is highly contingent upon the society you're in regarding how you apply that. So if you're in India, the role of the guru is a widely known societal phenomenon. In the West, you would have to apply something like the magnetic line of force or electric line of force, depending on how you do it, to being an evangelical preacher. That's the closest analogy we have to that whole guru thing. Now, thanks to social media, teaching as a yoga practitioner, for example, is something that, if properly done and pursued aggressively, can build you quite a large audience. I'm here to tell you that as a Westerner teaching meditation, there's not a whole lot of room to maneuver out there, and it's not a terribly common way to do this. The most successful people I've met at a low to middle level tend to be in the Tai Chi realm, sometimes the internal martial arts, but from what I've seen, that was largely a phenomena that came out of the late 80s and early 90s, and it's become increasingly difficult for those people to make a living as well. So I know this is a distasteful topic for a lot of people, the idea of money or making a living in Esoterica, but for those of you who are thinking about how to apply this, these are some things that you should think about. So, if you like the topic of today's discussion, please hit the like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. If you'd like to learn more about the 60 Skills curriculum, please go down and check out the links in the details portion of the video down below. Otherwise, train hard and be well.